If you look closely at this photo, you will see fashion that was inspired by syphilis. I am back with more medicine, fashion, history, and who more appropriate to feature on an episode about syphilis than our favorite Renaissance slut puppy, Henry VIII. In the early 1400s, men's fashion would feature these breeches and longer tunics. Later in that 15th century, you start to see a fashion trend of shorter doublets with tights. This would have left the male genitalia exposed, so codpieces were utilized to hide the male bulge. Now, originally, the codpiece was just a flap of fabric, but then an epidemic broke out in Europe. The symptoms of this disease included genital sores and these ulcers and abscesses all over the body that could eat all the way down to the bone and destroy your face, nose, and lips. They called it grande varole, or the great pox, which is now what we know to be syphilis, a bacteria which, by the way, is gorgeous under a microscope. Of the treatments, the one that worked best was a mixture of toxic mercury and grease. The wound care would include bulky layers of bandages, and even then the grease and the pus could leak through and stain their tights and their codpieces. So they had to bolster them, if you will. And of course, STDs were very stigmatized, so you couldn't just have one or two people wearing it, they'd be singled out. Once kings and noblemen wore a new fashion, it was emulated by anybody who could afford it. Association with syphilis wasn't even a second thought, because now it's a way of communicating your social and sexual status. And before you know it, you start seeing these very elaborate and embellished codpieces. Men were literally just decorating their dicks. Some people like to debate whether or not Henry VIII did have syphilis. We all know his lifestyle definitely fit the bill. He had this raging leg ulcer, which definitely could have been a syphilitic gumma. Also some literature that he may have suffered from dementia, which could be a symptom of tertiary or late stage syphilis, as the corkscrew-shaped bacterium tries to turn your brain into Swiss cheese. One thing's for sure, and that is he had a hell of a codpiece.